Hey friends, stay tuned for a special announcement at the end of this episode. Hello and welcome back. This is Don't Watch at Night, a spooky little podcast dedicated to Latin American horror and Spanish language horror. I'm your host, Valerie.
And I'm Veronica.
You're mid-yawn.
And I might be hacking up a lung, so apologies.
Okay. I will try to edit out what I can. I don't really... It's going to be hard.
Sorry. I can't help it.
We're going to do our best. You having a good weekend so far, Rod?
Just short. They're always too short.
I see you're wearing the Spurs hat. Do you want to give an update? How are they still in the whatever playoffs?
Yes, they're going.
Is it called the playoffs?
Yes, they've advanced to the Western Conference Finals. So the winner of the next game will go on to the finals.
All right. Well, we can jump right into it. Friends, part of what we are looking at this month is we're taking a look at 90s horror because we just thought that would be fun to do. And our first episode already out, we looked at 1998's The Faculty. This week, we're taking a look at 1992's Jennifer 8. Jennifer 8 is a 1992 American neo-noir thriller. This was written and directed by Bruce Robinson. It stars Andy Garcia, Uma Thurman, Lance Henriksen, who you may all know from many things, but chief among them, Pumpkinhead. Is it Pumpkinhead? Yeah, Pumpkinhead. Kathy Baker and John Malkovich. This is direct from Wikipedia, by the way. Its plot focuses on a police detective investigating the murder of an unidentified young woman in a small Northern California town. It's available to stream on Amazon Prime. That's where I caught it. And it has a runtime of 125 minutes.
Too long.
So definitely, like it says, noir thriller. We're calling that horror adjacent. So we took a look at it. Andy Garcia is from Havana, Cuba. Naturalized citizen to the U.S. Anyway, you watched this movie today?
Yeah,
I just finished it.
Just finished like 30 minutes ago.
What did you think? First initial thoughts. Had you ever seen this?
I had seen it like when it came out.
Okay.
I don't remember why.
Did you see it in theaters?
I don't remember. I just know I've seen it. Maybe not when it came out, but I've seen it before.
Okay.
I didn't remember anything about it, like who did it. And I don't have any clear memories of what my feelings were the first time I watched it. I mean, it's okay. It was like, I had a lot of questions about leaps of logic and things like that. But
yeah,
I mean, wasn't the best movie I've ever seen. Wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen. It's just kind of
as we get further and further into the movie, I think I even made a note. Where did I write it? This is a lot of Andy Garcia screaming, Andy Garcia shouting. And I'm like,
I can't say I really liked his character very much.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't dislike him, but I was like, I don't know.
There were some that we'll get to it, but there were some things that I just I don't know. Like maybe in the 90s, I mind you, in 1992 I was 10. So what opinion did I have? But I seem to remember my kid brain, the snippets of movie that I've caught of this movie over those childhood years. I remembered this movie as far more interesting than it actually is. Like it's kind of not. It's not really. I mean, there's good moments of tension, I suppose, and some nice little red herrings thrown in here and there, but there were also lots of moments where it's just like kind of dragging, kind of trim some scenes a little bit. The ending scene is the scene that I remember, and like when we get to that ending scene, the final moments of the film, it was like I do remember this. I remember this because I remember her going down the stairs and all that stuff. So I remember that I had seen that, and what the big surprise reveal is at the end when she turns around and faces the attacker.
I didn't remember that at all.
Yeah, that one stuck in the brain because that's what, like, for some reason, I had it in my head. He's this detective. They're hunting down this serial killer, and they being law enforcement, use Uma Thurman's character, Helena, as sort of like the bait to lure the killer. For whatever reason, that's what I thought was going to be the case in this movie, and it's really not. Like, it really doesn't.
I was going to say, is that what the plan was? Because I don't remember seeing
no,
that.
like that's not it at all. And like the party scene where she gets kind of jostled and loses the little boy, and so she gets freaked out because she's in this scenario where she's being bumped into. She doesn't know the room at all. In my brain, I thought that this was like a massive party. Like, I thought that's where they were staging the bait. This was a massive party at some public space, not a house party. It's like essentially a house party. And so I thought that's where she was going to be the bait stage for the serial killer to come and attack her. And so I don't know. There's a lot of things that in my brain I didn't remember right about this movie. Let's see. Andy Garcia's character is named somebody Berlin. John, is it John Berlin?
John Berlin. Mm-hmm.
John Berlin. Okay. And he's a detective. And the thing to know about him is that he, LA cop, whatever, hot shot cop that moves to Eureka, California. He's on the heels of a really nasty, terrible divorce. It's just a guy who's like broken. And he meets up with Lance Henriksen's character, who is his former
Sergeant, I guess. Like they used to work maybe together.
Yeah,
LA,
and his name is Ross.
Freddie? I know his first name's Freddie or something, because at one point when John Malkovich is interrogating Andy Garcia, he says, "I've never once called him Freddie."
Okay, yeah, so Freddie Ross.
It's Ross,
yeah.
So Freddie Ross.
Freddie Ross, okay. They're like partners or what have you, and Andy Garcia's, I'm going to keep forgetting, Berlin's intro into this town is they're out at a crime scene at a garbage dump, like a landfill type spot, and they uncover the remains of like a hand body part, which they link to a girl who had gone missing in the area who happened to be blind. And so,
that's one of the leaps of logic that I'm like, okay, well, how did you connect the severed hand in the body dump to Jennifer?
And they talk about like the wearing down of the fingertips, the constant wearing down, and the leap of logic that he makes after sort of thinking, was she constantly fretting? Was she constantly a nail biter? Like, what is it? I forget what the scene is where he sees something or hears something that triggers for him that, oh, she must have been blind or something like that. Yeah,
he's taken Ross to, I think, a mechanic to pick up his car, and while he's waiting, how the crosswalks will announce, right. And the flashing hand, and
that's so right. He has lots of these little eureka moments where he's just like,
which I don't know. I'm not blind. I don't know anyone who's blind personally. Like, does reading Braille really wear down your fingers that much?
I don't know. And I was thinking if it's not just reading Braille, maybe it's just like a lifetime of. The other thing that is worth noting about this movie, because this is not the first movie where we've watched where it's like the female lead is blind. She's using a lot of her hands to feel around. Like, she doesn't seem to know spaces very well at all, which could very well be the case.
Including the one she lives in.
Including the one she lives in, which is like, I feel like you. Yeah. So it's just okay. First off, what to say? As delightful. Delightful is the wrong word, but as much as I enjoyed 90s Andy Garcia, I want to be very specific. 90s Andy Garcia, as much as I enjoyed him as an actor, I did feel that what did you think of the romance aspect of him and Helena?
Well, my feelings on romance in general, and this one did not pass the bar.
It felt
unnecessary.
It felt a little icky. Yeah.
Well, especially when we find out that except for her hair color, she looks a lot like his ex-wife.
There is a significant age gap between them. I know, because this movie, and we'll talk about it more as we move through it, this movie is somewhat inspired by giallo film. Romance is not out of the question in giallo film, but it's certainly part of the formula. But this felt like the age lived experience discrepancy was so big, because he's 37, but he's also just like a hardened detective that's seen so much and been through so much. And then she went blind at the age of 14. I think even the head of the institute or whatever is in a room in a meeting with Berlin and maybe Ross, talking about, she's kind of mentally stuck there, because that's the last 14 is sort of the last time she saw the world. Well, the last time she even saw herself.
And she just comes across as very meek and timid and just afraid of basically her own shadow. So I'm like, okay, what is it that Well, maybe that is. I was going to say, what is it that attracts you to her other than she's pretty, obviously, but maybe that's what attracts her to him attracts him to her. That
Yeah. And because of all that, she reads
somebody even
very.
says that, right? Is it that you can control her? He's not necessarily trying to control her in the movie. Like I didn't get that vibe, but she is very.
She's young. She reads very young.
Yes.
Yeah, she reads very young. So I was trying to get on board with it, but I was just like, no, I don't like it.
Like the minute they met and I could tell they were going there, I was like, yeah, no.
Yeah. At about the hour mark, we had already met creepy little weird dude with the big spectacles, who is sort of the red herring of this film. And I had barely clocked him. And I was thinking, because I was like, at about an hour into the movie, I thought, we haven't even met John Malkovich yet. Where is he? So I was like, what is going on?
I forgot he was in the movie.
Well, I knew he was in I was waiting for him because I knew he was in the movie. And I was just like, where is he? And then I started thinking that he was that little creepy janitor guy. And I was like, that can't be him. That doesn't look anything like him. That doesn't sound like him. And then when we finally meet him, I was like, oh, okay, there he is. That's him. That's clearly him.
I actually never thought it was the creepy dude taking the pictures just because it was too obvious. I was like, no, it's going to be someone that we're not. I thought it was going to be
John Malkovich.
No.
That's why I was like, why haven't we met him yet? Isn't he the killer? Like, shouldn't we have met him by now?
I didn't know he was in there. I was actually thinking, what would be the worst thing for the Berlin character? And that would have been if it was his friend, Ross.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Sorry, Ross.
I went into it thinking that Malkovich, for some reason, I just thought he's going to be the bad guy. He's going to be the killer. And so I was thinking, why haven't we met him yet? Like, we should have met him by now. And we're on to the fact that he's a killer, but they don't know that he's a killer. And then I was like, he's not the killer. Lance Henriksen plays Fred Ross. What did you think of his character as sort of like
I liked him. That's why I was like, I was hoping it wasn't going to be him because like that would really suck because I did like his character and I liked his wife and so it would have sucked for her. I mean, it still ended up sucking for her because what happens. But I mean, I liked him, but I pretty much suspected everybody at some point. I suspected the newspaper dude, even though he kind of disappeared. Like, you know, he was there in a few scenes in the beginning and then he just kind of disappears. Suspected. What did you think of everybody on the police force at one point or another?
What did you like? Did you clock Ross's what seems to be a very obvious drinking problem? Just constantly. I noticed like he seems to be like he pops open the bottle of champagne when they're celebrating something. He reaches for a beer when like he's over at John's house or whatever, and like just constantly drinking. Various points drinking. Not necessarily pushing, but offering drinks to Berlin, who, at least at the beginning of the film, is actively avoiding it and going for Diet Coke. And one of the articles that we share with you guys, which Ron, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but the one that specifically mentions what Andy Garcia's thoughts were on this film. Did you have it?
Yeah, I read it. Yeah.
Evidently the drinking and the substance abuse was apparently at one point more of a plot point, especially for Berlin's character. That was more of a developed storyline in the original uncut film, which was closer to like 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 20 minutes or something like that.
And so he shared that the original name was A Policeman's Story, which would have obviously been a different perspective of the story than the one we got. If it was meant to be more of a personal narrative.
So one of the articles that we looked at also pointed out just 1 year before this, 1991, is when Silence of the Lambs came out. I think Paramount Pictures, the reason they wanted to edit this down more is because they were worried it wasn't going to be commercial enough, whatever that means. But on the heels of the success of movies like Silence of the Lambs, I think there's probably there was an appetite for films like this. Unfortunately, this was a box office flop, is what many reports indicate. This was a box office flop back in the 90s. It was largely ignored. Roger Ebert tore it up, and we did include that review for you people to look at too. Is Silence of the Lambs a very obviously stronger film?
Yes. Not even close. It's like I never really felt any suspense like during this.
Suspense? No. Okay. Yeah. The pianos, the musical scoring, I thought was very effective and eerie, and lots of use of piano. Not nearly as tense as Silence of the Lambs, which is why I'm saying, like, I think like Silence of the Lambs demonstrated there was certainly a strong appetite for movies that perhaps were more graphic or more disturbing, certainly more disturbing. We saw some very disturbing stuff in Silence of the Lambs. So I feel like this movie could have gone that way and been more suspenseful.
The aftertaste that I have from this movie is just really more just like, but why and how? I wouldn't say there were any like standout moments. I was just a lot of moments where I was like, well, why did you make that leap of logic? And why is everybody on the police force so against him pursuing this line of investigation? And why at the end, if everybody thinks he shot Ross, is he not arrested? Like, why is he still running around? I just had a lot of like things that made no sense.
And they do kind of allude to the fact that like one of the reasons why he kind of just ends up on the entire department's shit list right off the bat is because he comes in all hot and then he kickstarts this investigation, which they say, we went through, that was 6 months of the worst hell this department had been through, racking themselves silly trying to solve the case. So maybe there was just like resentment about like, oh my God, here he is going to drag this up again. But it's like, that's the job. That's the function of the department. It's to find justice.
You find a severed hand.
Yeah.
Everybody's just wanting to like, oh, it's, no big deal. Drop it. We've got other cases. It's probably medical
Bodies
waste.
be turning up.
It's probably medical waste. Well, it's in a bag full of noodles. I mean, it's in a trash bag full of food and noodles. Like, why? Like, I just didn't understand why the cops were not like wanting to pursue. At least verify if you think it's medical waste. At least.
Right. Do you agree with some of the assessments that in the resources? Do you agree that because of whatever editing they did on this movie, that's the reason that we watch it and we feel like there's so many necessary story elements missing? Because it's just, it was chopped so badly that the script is, the existing product is just.
I don't know, because it seems like, in reading that, the one of where Andy Garcia talks about, which, by the way, I have to point out, after watching the movie for 2 hours and seeing a very young Andy Garcia, to see that picture of him old, like for a minute, I was like, well, who's that? An older picture of Andy Garcia, like the way he looks, I was like, well, who's that?
Damn.
Time waits for no man. Anyway, and he made it sound like the biggest scenes that were deleted, that were edited out, were like scenes from his interrogation with John Malkovich. So I'm not sure that it would have really related to why is the police department seems so resistant to him pursuing this investigation of where did this severed hand come from? Like, it belonged to somebody. Why would you not want to pursue that, or at least identify who the hand belongs to? So I don't know that it would have related anything to that, those types of questions.
Were there any other aspects of the story that felt choppy to you? You said that there were lots of like logic jumps that seemed really bizarre.
Well, just connecting the severed hand to, when you know nothing about it, to this old case that they work. Okay. And then you mentioned the other, another one where voila, she must have been blind. Okay. Well, lots of people would have reason to have worn hand. Gardeners, people that work with plants, people who work outside, people who work with animals.
I was actively watching, but I didn't quite make the connection on how he made the jump towards the breathing thing was like the guy's an asthmatic, or like I didn't make.
Yeah, I don't know where he got.
I was like, wow. And then suddenly he's in the car because Margie posts bail, and he's in the car. And I'm like, who are you following? There was a woman in a red coat. And I'm like, who are we following? Who is she? Whose house are we at? What is this? I was just like,
she was the driver of remember when he's pulling into the institute where Helena or whatever her name is lives?
I was trying to remember her. I was like, I feel like we've seen her, but I don't remember who she is.
He almost crashes with the driver of those old VW vans. So she's the driver of that van, because remember, Helena suddenly hears another VW van and says, that sounds like the hollow car from
But why was she, like, who is she? Why did she show up at that house?
She didn't show up at the house.
She pulls up to he gets to the house and he sees her come out in the rain and get in the car. Like, he's been following her, and he follows her to this house. She goes up
her mother's house.
So she's related to John Taylor?
She's the niece. She's his niece.
Oh, okay. See, I wasn't. I was like, who is she?
She's his niece.
Okay.
Okay. I just don't know.
Weird.
I don't know how that asthma or whatever medicine made it into, because they said they got that out of John's car, unless he planted it. Maybe he planted it there.
Yeah.
But Otherwise, I don't know how that got in there.
Like, I mean, he must have, but it's like that's a key thing that you've in the editing or what you've deprived the audience of knowing that. So it's just we're left being like, wait, how did that happen? What? So yeah, those are key things that you don't want to chop out of a movie if that's what happened, because that's information the audience needs. What else? So Christmas party happens. Blah, 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 blah. She's wearing a lovely red dress. She gets lost in the shuffle of the party. She winds up upstairs and they decide this is the moment to make out. Later that night, a very drunk Berlin and a very drunk Ross decide they're going to go to the Institute and just the two of them bring down this serial killer. It goes very badly. But I did note when Berlin is up there with the flashlight looking for this guy, the Institute looks like an abandoned building. I'm like, is she the only one who lives here? Like nobody else
what
is
I'm
here.
wondering. Like in that end scene when he's chasing her, and I'm like, does nobody else live here?
Is this just like an abandoned?
Is she the only faculty in the school that lives on campus other than the guy that takes
a ghost? Is she
creepy pictures? I mean, what the hell?
Hello, loves. If you're not part of our Patreon family yet, let me tell you why it's worth your time. Number one, it's free. There's a lot of fun stuff that you can get with us over on Patreon. From our beloved creepy cocktail hours.
And now comes big ass pickle garnish. Summer camp is a bit of escapism. You will always hear me talk up the value of real world horror depicted in art mediums, in this case film. A lot of things aren't as scary as real life right now, but that doesn't mean we don't need them in our stories.
To fun watch-alongs like the time I made a blueberry gin sour and we all watched 1995's Copycat together.
Harry Connick Jr. spent weeks watching documentaries on serial killers in preparation for his role. I was gonna say, sounds like my life. I'm just kidding. I do watch a fair amount of documentaries.
Plus a growing collection of full film commentary episodes that are only available to our Patreon listeners.
That was just unnecessary. Like, you didn't have to kill. The guy was handcuffed. He couldn't chase you.
Veronica, he's a killer.
Yeah, but he's supposed to be not just an animalistic killer. He's supposed to be extremely intelligent and smart.
We're having a lot of fun over there, and we want you with us, so join us on Patreon now. We've linked it for you in show notes. You can also learn more by visiting us at don'twatchatnight.com. See you soon. Let's get back to the show.
I feel bad that poor Ross died thinking that his friend is the one who killed him. Like,
I wrote, he says, John, not you, not you. It's just like, this is cinema. But yeah, it's tragic because he can't see who it is. He just, there's a flashlight blinding him. The killer ultimately pushed a door that knocked Berlin unconscious momentarily inside the building. And so then the person who emerges on the stairs outside is not Berlin. It's the guy, it's our killer, who shoots Ross and kills him pretty brutally, mind you, and leaves him for dead. It was
I missed the part where Berlin gets knocked unconscious because the guy slams a door into him.
Well, he slams the door on him and sends him falling down the stairs, and so in the tumbling down the stairs, I guess he got knocked out. Then next we see them. Berlin is now the chief suspect because he's the only key to this, and this was a red herring moment. After Ross gets shot, we see creepy guy, janitor, I don't even know if he has a name, but he is the janitor of the Institute. We see with the big spectacles. He comes rushing into his little apartment room, whatever, and we see that he is the creeper who's been taking pictures of, you see images of, I don't think it's just Helena. It's probably a lot of people who live there at the Institute that he's just been taking photos of because they're blind. They can't see that he's in the room with them. So he's just a creepy dude. And so, initially I was like, oh my God, it's him. He's the killer. And it makes perfect sense because he's the person we see running in from the snow right after that shooting. So you think it's him, or I did. Did you?
I didn't. No.
Okay.
I still didn't think it was him.
He was
small.
Like
just too obvious. He's just the too obvious.
And he's too small, I think, to have overpowered much of anybody. He's kind of
the guy that
dude.
shoots, like when you see him descend the stairs and stand over Ross and like shoot him more almost point blank, like he's wearing a heavy coat. And when the little creepy dude walks in, he's not even wearing anything really.
Any coat,
that was suitable to be outside. So I didn't think it was him.
So I
still didn't know who it was. I thought it was going to be was it that scene? No. The scene where he where was she? I think Helena was, I don't remember if she was at Margie's house or John's house, Berlin's house. And he breaks in there and I guess to verify that she's really blind. And we see like his eyeball, and it was really blue. And I remember that the newspaper dude's eyes were really blue. So I was thinking maybe it was him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was at John's house, because initially when she leaves Margie's house, I was thinking, oh God, please tell me she's not going back to the Institute. Like, that is just the stupidest place to go. But then she goes to the second stupidest place to go, which is John's house, which it's like, I understand why she would go there, but it is a space, even less than Margie's house. It's like, why would you go and put yourself there? Like, if your two places that you know the best are your own apartment and Margie's house, why go to John's house? Yeah. When we saw the eyes of, I feel like that was almost too much of a giveaway, because at that point I did remember that police officer had those same kind of eyes. So I was thinking, I bet. And then we like see him fairly soon after that. And I feel like maybe we should have kept him away a little bit longer, because immediately you clock his eyes. Because by the time he's in the room with John Malkovich and Berlin, and Malkovich is interrogating Berlin, and our killer is there sitting in the corner, just sort of being observant, I had already clocked that it's going to be him. I bet it's going to be him. John Malkovich in this role, as in all of the roles where he has to play like a pretty convincing jerk, does it very well. He wasn't
a jerk. He was doing his job. He's trying he's trying to get the truth out of. Here's what bothered me about that.
I say jerk because we know that Berlin didn't do it, but yeah.
Where all of a sudden he's like rapid fire coming at John or Berlin's character, and he uses ain't a lot, and I'm like, that's not fitting with the way he's been talking. Like, it doesn't seem to fit his character, and I don't know, it just bothered me.
Yeah, I think it was just him mocking, although Berlin doesn't talk like that either, but I think this is part of what I say, like his character just being like this condescending, it's him doing his job, but it's also him being a dick about it. The moment when she's in John's house, the guy's at the door and she runs her fingers over the stove that has the burners on, I was like, no, I don't want to see it. What else? So yeah, at what point did you connect the dots that the killer was a cop?
All the potential suspects were cops. So I never thought it was going to be Ross's wife. I never thought it was going to be the creepy janitor dude. So that only left the newspaper dude and the cops.
They don't say it in the plot, so we're left to kind of infer it when he's in the interrogation scenes with Malkovich, and we're learning that the asthma stuff is found in his car, and his gun had gone missing, things like that, things of that nature. I think that there was a part of me that was beginning to wonder, is it somebody who's on the inside? In which case, yeah, it would be a cop. And so that's when I started thinking, what if it's somebody who's on the inside of all this, who has access to a lot of these things or can get access to these things, and is just like framing him. But I still didn't know who it was at that point. And then, yeah, he puts it together that it is Sergeant John Taylor. So for anybody who hasn't seen this movie, we've been spoiling it for you, but like, you want to take people through what the reveal is when Berlin's in the house and he's going through the photos? Because again, initially I was like, what are we doing? What are we looking for? What is the purpose of this?
So he just finds the photo that this is the woman that drives the VW bus, van, whatever. It's her mother's home. So he finds a picture that says, me, Mom, and Uncle Johnny, and whatever, their arts and crafts store. And then other pictures of the mom. I guess she worked at a school for the blind. And John Taylor, there's like a big class photo, and his name is listed there. And the little boy, I guess the only seeing, visually capable person in a school full of blind people. And I guess the trauma of being a boy around a bunch of little blind girls was enough to turn him into a serial killer who has it in for blind women. I mean, what the hell? Makes no sense whatsoever.
Boys will do anything but go to therapy.
I mean, like, geez, Louise, dude.
Yeah. So he's the only one in the photo who's actually looking at the camera, which is the giveaway that that's a seeing person. And yeah, as soon as Berlin sees the name John Taylor, who again, like it didn't mean anything to me because I didn't even remember that guy's name was John Taylor. I was just like, okay, who's John Taylor? And then, the guy comes up behind him and is like, you shouldn't be in my mother's house.
Well, I actually thought when he saw the name John Taylor, I was like, the captain? So clearly we didn't keep anybody's names straight in this film. I was like, it's the captain?
Well, I was beginning to think that it was like the guy who Serrato. Maybe he's a bad guy, and we see so little of him in the movie that I was like, that would make sense because we haven't seen like a bunch of him, but he's definitely been there. Even if they were obvious to us and we spotted them, lots of red herrings in this movie or potential suspects of who it could be.
Well, yeah, it even could have been the, I don't know what is headmaster dude of the institute, because that actor always seems to play douchey characters.
And isn't he also in Silence of the Lambs? That guy? I don't remember.
I don't remember the actor's name. I just know he always seems to play douchey, smarmy characters.
Yeah, but I'm with you. Like once we learn who John Taylor is, that was my next thing that I wrote. But why? What is the reasoning? And then we learned the reasoning, and I'm like, well, that doesn't feel very strong, but okay.
No, not at all.
And that's another thing that I think like they edited that out. Like we hear Berlin kind of telling Malkovich that, but we could have maybe had a little bit more scenes of him explaining that, less scenes of the killer like at the window kind of listening in. Like we might have learned a little bit more about this killer's psyche from that monologue that got chopped, it sounds like. Or maybe not. When do you think, or do you, there is obviously a point, but do you think that Helena reaches a point where she registers, maybe by hearing him or what, that John Taylor is the guy? And if you do think that, where do you think that happened?
Well, that would be the only explanation for that ending.
Because once we know who it is and they've arrested what's his face and John Taylor shows up at Margie's house and he's telling her, don't be trying to bail him out. He did it, blah, 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 blah. And she's just kind of ignoring him. And Helena comes down the stairs. He's helping her get her coat on and he's even offering to take her. And Margie's like, no, I'll do it. There's some close-ups of Uma Thurman looking disturbed or just sort of like looking off put by him. I couldn't.
Kind of hard to tell because she always kind of had that expression.
She always looked like that. She always kind of looked like that. But I was just like, I wonder if she's clocking his voice and she's recognizing his voice because that would be the only way.
That's what I was like. Don't you recognize his voice?
That would have to be the only way.
But yeah, because otherwise there's no explanation for that ending. And even then, that's kind of like seemed like a risky plan.
You kind of almost wanted the scene where she and Margie are coming up with that plan because it's like, it's a good plan, it works, but it's like we could have.
No, but like, what if he had just, once he got in your room, just shot you in bed before you even had a chance to run through the empty halls? What if you couldn't
effectively get down the stairs, as well as you think you could?
I know. Or really, if he made even a half-hearted attempt to catch her, he would have caught her.
Well, see, this is another thing that felt like this is just in service of the plot because, it wouldn't go this way. When Berlin is racing to get out there and we're getting voiceover of him telling Malkovich he's not stupid. He wouldn't shoot her. I don't know why, but he would do something like push her down the stairs. So it's like, why doesn't he shoot her right off the bat, as would make sense? Because evidently he's too smart. He would just push her down the stairs and make it look less, more like an accident or something. But yeah, it totally feels like that's just in service of this ending. It's not, because you're right. He would shoot her. He would just shoot her dead.
Or, like I said, he was like, if he'd made even a half-hearted attempt, he would have caught her. Like she's taking so much time stumbling and reaching for things he would have caught her like this. Yeah. And then just take her body, toss her downstairs. Like it's not hard.
As fast as she's moving, and she is moving fast for someone who can't see. He could be so much faster than her. She's fleeing. It's Uma Thurman flying down the stairs, and then when we get down, evidently she goes one way. He catches up with this woman running down the hallway, so he goes after her, thinking it's her. And at the last second, Margie turns around. It's her, and she's got a gun in his face, and she shoots him dead. And I was like, yeah, Margie. Because that's the man who took her husband. Righteous.
And, there's also the question of that's not fair. Because at that point she knows. But yeah, it was a highly, highly risky plan. Should have not worked. Should have gone wrong 100 different ways. And Helena should be dead by all rights in the real world. And then does Margie like, does she get charged with murder? Is it considered self-defense? I mean,
I know.
we
I did
don't
have
know
that
what
thought.
happens.
I did have that thought because I thought, well, surely it's self-defense. But then she like shoots him at least once in the back, and I was like, well, that's less self-defense. But I'm like, surely she gets off. I hope she does. We don't get to know though, because the ending scenes of this movie are the happy couple walking in a field and
Blah.
just yeah. So
Ross is dead because of Andy Garcia.
So yeah, that's the end of that movie. And we have listed for you guys really, really interesting article from dreadcentral.com, kind of talking about this movie as the forgotten Giallo-inspired thriller of the 90s. And so these are people we have reviews that are less glowing, but then we have reviews that just sort of speak to, I think, people's and individual tastes and just sort of wanting to lift this movie up as something in the noir category. So I think if you like those gritty noir films, then Jennifer 8 is a fun film for you. But yeah, like this article, which is written by Tyler Dupay. He talks about the Giallo influences of Jennifer 8. Writer-director Bruce Robinson's use of those familiar tropes. The black-gloved killer whose face is always obscured whenever he's in frame. The antagonist eventually proves to be someone very familiar to the viewer, somebody that we weren't very likely to suspect. And I will say this, Veronica, out of all the people we suspected, was it ever that guy for you? Who's ultimately
I suspected everybody.
I didn't suspect him because I didn't clock him. Like I barely registered him. I remember he said something nasty to Berlin at the beginning, but then that's kind of it. I don't really clock him. Is he the guy who, because remember how Berlin gets all mad that somebody, what's the word, disclosed the location. Yeah, like disclose the location. The guy that is that the guy who did that? Okay.
Yeah. And then he's also the guy that caught Berlin, like in his office, looking through his drawers. And
okay. Yeah. So I just wasn't really clocking him at all. He's a very forgettable face to me.
I suspected almost everybody.
And then this is another apparently Giallo trope that I'm less familiar with, but the killer is usually driven to take lives because of a childhood trauma that manifested into violent impulses. As we know, this is the article. As we know, killers from Giallo pictures often experience a similar trajectory. But as Veronica is saying, the trauma was not traumatic enough.
There was no trauma.
It wasn't trauma. It was just rejection.
There was no trauma at all. Oh my God.
It was just a boy being rejected, or not even being rejected, because it's not the girl's fault that they can't see all of the efforts, like, whatever. Let's see. Great cast of characters is what this article highlights. Special affection for Lance Henriksen, who is a standout in this film. I agree with that. Did you have a chance? I did not have a chance to look at Roger Ebert's review. Roger Ebert gave it 1.5 stars. So Roger Ebert hated this movie. He said, look, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he says somebody should have taken a hard look at the screenplay and decided that it wasn't finished. And then this line, which I feel like this might be a line you agree with, from Ebert's review. This is the kind of movie where everybody makes avoidable errors in order for the plot to wend its torturous way to an unsatisfactory conclusion.
Yes. Decisions were made not because it made any logical sense in a real world setting, but because the plot needed to happen that way. And that's basically this movie in a nutshell. The plot needed things to happen the way they happen in order to get to the ending that also made little sense. So
one thing to know about Bruce Robinson. Bruce Robinson he earned an Oscar. This is the writer-director of the film. He earned an Oscar nomination for his screenwriting work in 1984's The Killing Fields. And then he delivered some movie in 87 called With Nail and I, which I never saw, but it's a British cult classic according to this MidwestFilmJournal.com. I think he made this movie, and then he didn't make anything for a long time. And then he came back in 2011, it says, and he directed The Rum Diary with Johnny Depp, which I think also was a flop. In closing, this article says Jennifer 8, this is somebody who has an appreciation for the film. Jennifer 8 is a suspect. Let's start again. Jennifer 8 is a suspect everyone spectacle that takes its conclusion down to its literal last minute and does so with a complexity of character that's perfect counterpoint to all the carnage. It's the sort of thing which Mayor of Easttown, the series Mayor of Easttown, wins copious awards now for, but it got lost in the shuffle 30 years ago. So I don't know. I think you and I have already stated it. I think like there were stronger movies that came out about this time, The Silence of the Lambs being one of them. Copycat came out later. Copycat came out in 1995, but even Copycat, I think, is a stronger film than this one.
I just never felt suspenseful the whole time that he's in the room, like he's in the house with the blind lady. I didn't feel like on the edge of my seat, what's going to happen? I never felt that way once in this whole movie.
Do you think maybe with this, I mean, this movie needed a lot of things, but do you think it might have benefited from maybe a little bit more violence, or no?
No, I don't think you need violence to make it suspenseful. I don't know what it was missing. I'm not paid the big bucks to make those decisions, but it just didn't do it for me.
So. Just didn't hit. It didn't hit.
No.
All right. Well, I'm glad I had never seen it all the way in its entirety, so I'm glad I saw it. It is 2 hours though, and that's a lot. I think you could do this movie. Apparently, the British cut of this movie is less. I wonder what they cut to make it less. Let us know if you think fondly of it. If you're somebody who does like giallo films and film noir, let us know if this one is among your favorites. I can definitely see. I think Andy Garcia does play that noir, gritty detective well. It is somebody that you kind of borderline don't like, and I think that's true to whatever this character was on the page. So I think he does a good job, and I think Lance Henriksen does a good job. They all do a good job. It's just the story's lacking. It's lacking.
Yeah, I mean the cast is fine. The actors are fine. It's just it was lackluster. Not suspenseful. Yeah, not suspenseful. Character motivations were whack.
The only other thing to know, this will have already happened by the time this episode comes out, but our second episode as part of our revisited series will have been posted by now. We revisited episode 2 of this podcast where Veronica and I watched, I think it was 2017, I want to say, where we watched 2017's Veronica, which is that Netflix film. Do you remember it at all?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was episode 2. So that will have been posted by the time this episode comes out. So take a look at that, revisit that with us if you want to. We'll keep rolling out those revisited episodes here and there. So watch for those. Guys, you know what we forgot to do? Because Veronica and I are dorks, we forgot to announce our next book pick for Don't Watch at Night Book Club. This is going to be our summer reading, and then we'll have book club discussion episode into July, early August, somewhere around there. So the book that we have chosen is The Haunting of Alejandra by V. Castro. This is a book that's been on our TBR list for a long time now. I think it came out in 2023, so we decided to go ahead and make that the summer book. Let me just read you the opening sentences of the back of the book. Alejandra no longer knows who she is. To her husband, she is a wife, and to her children, a mother. To her own adoptive mother, she is a daughter. But they cannot see who Alejandra has become, a woman struggling with a darkness that threatens to consume her. If you haven't already read this book, do go pick it up and make that your summer reading. If you've read it, it's a great time to reread it or just be prepared to tune in with us when we come back for book club discussion. And on that note, the other thing that Veronica and I forgot to do is say farewell for now. This is that time of the year every year where Veronica and I go on vacation. We're going to be taking the month of June off. It does not mean you're not going to still be getting episodes. We're going to be tossing some special stuff your way during the month of June, pre-recorded. You will have all new episodes from us when we come back in July. So you'll see us soon. Love you. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye. Don't Watch at Night is a Nest production. Executive producers are Valerie and me. Editing by Valerie. Music by Omar Chakor. Special thanks to Lorenzo Villarreal and Alex Street for production support for this episode. Listen to any new episodes every other Monday, and if you like our show, give us a rate and a review. It's the best way to help us grow.